In this Star Wars Outlaws video, we will be comparing the differences between the new patch and the previous one. Before we do take a look at all of those differences though, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future news updates on Star Wars Outlaws. So in my previous video, we went through the patch notes of Title Update 2 and I showed off some of the new features that were included in that patch, but I did not have time to go through and compare all the different changes that were made in the game, and I did have a bunch of requests from people in my comment section asking for specific comparisons, so that's what we are doing in this video. The first thing that we will be comparing is Kay's hair transition for when she is in the rain. So previously it looked like this. It went from being dry to suddenly completely wet, and the shaping had a slightly different look to it. It was clearly wet, but the transition was pretty quick. Now if we take a look at how it is in Title Update 2, you'll see that the hair has this longer transition where you can tell it gets wet over time a little bit longer than before, and it sort of keeps the shape a little bit more. It doesn't change as much, it's just mostly her hairstyle, but just very wet, which you can tell in comparison to when it is dry. Next up is something else to do with the rain and water. So in the patch notes it said that they've improved Kay's awareness around waterfalls and rain, and this is one of the animations that will display when Kay is in the rain. So you'll see that she reaches to put her hand over her head, and she also has some voice lines as well. Some players have been disappointed by the Death Trooper Manhunt event that kicks off when you do reach max wanted level, and I am happy to tell you that some improvements have been made to it. One of the main issues people had was the fact that the Death Troopers don't actually chase you, you go to them and take them out. Well, you can actually see here that some Death Troopers will actually be part of troop transports and be far away from the camp itself, so you will face some Death Troopers in combat before you actually reach the camp now. Also, on a few occasions, I did notice that a TIE Reaper is now at the camp, and this is the vehicle that the Death Troopers exit out of. So you can see on the little ramp that that's where the Death Troopers are. They've just come out of the TIE Reaper, and it does stay there even after you take out the Death Troopers. This does not happen at every single camp. I did notice that it didn't happen on various ones on Tatooine. I don't believe this was in the game before. I personally did not see it happen before, nor have I seen any videos or any other evidence that it existed until now, but I did see it repeated when I played the new update. I also believe some improvements have been made to the NPCs and their reactions, I think. They do have new voice lines and such, but I couldn't tell which was new and which was old, because there were just so many voice lines in the base game anyway, so I may have not heard some of the older ones, you may not have heard the ones I've heard, and vice versa. But personally I just feel like the NPCs just react a little bit more to things, your actions, which makes this really lively game feel even better. Next up, let's take a look at the sensitivity change between the sniper rifles in Title Update 2 and previous builds. So what you're seeing at the top is Title Update 2, and on the bottom is the previous builds of the game. So when you do aim down the scope, be it at the standard zoom or the extra zoom, you will notice the sensitivity has been increased a little bit, so it's not as stiff as before. A couple of people asked me about the names going on contracts. What does that mean? It's a very simple change. Basically all they've done is added the name of the syndicate before the name of the contract, depending who you are doing that contract for. So very simple change, but it's now in the menu, so you don't just have to look at those logos in case you have forgotten those logos. Massive did add the ability to double tap the jump button to swing grapple now, so when you come across these areas where you have to swing using the grapple hook, you can now just press the jump button instead of do this when it's just the standard grapple going upwards without swinging from ledge to ledge. So if you're just having to go up, you can't double tap, you still have to use the thumbstick. The patch notes also listed some improvements to the lighting at night time when doing takeoffs in the Trailblazer, and I didn't really notice any differences between various comparison tests I did, although I did notice that the light, I guess, is more realistic now with it not showing on the top of the Trailblazer for a certain part of the takeoff sequence. I'm not sure if that's what they meant, but this is pretty much all I could find. It may be a PlayStation or Xbox specific thing, and I don't have the game on those consoles. Now, the main thing people have been asking me about are the changes to the melee animations for when punching helmeted enemies or just the overall animation improvements. From what I can tell, they seem to have maybe removed certain takedown animations, so they only play on unhelmeted characters rather than the helmeted enemies. I do feel like the fist-to-fist combat has also improved just how Kay does it. It's very, very minor if so. I know various people, including myself, did not have any issue with how it was before whatsoever, so that's just personal preference, I guess. I don't understand the issue going on here. I've had plenty of people say, I don't understand why people are so outraged about all of this fist-to-fist combat going on with helmeted stormtroopers. It's a video game, it's Star Wars, it's a bit of fun, and she even has scars and cuts on her fists, on her character model, in case you didn't know from, punching people. This next change was actually not part of the patch notes, but was a fan-requested feature. It is a spoiler for the ending of the game, so if you have not completed the game yet, skip ahead 20 seconds. But basically, if you have completed the game, you'll know that ND5 lost his restraining bolts, and then when you go into the open world, he actually has it on his character model still. Well, this has now been removed when you do go back and play the game. He no longer has it in the open world. It has finally been fully removed, as it should have been following the ending of the game. Also, the eye which Kay closes when aiming down the sights of a weapon has changed. This is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now in patch 2. Which changes were your favourite as part of this update? Let me know down in the comment section below. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss any future news updates on this game, including future patches, which we will be getting in just a couple of weeks. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you did miss any of my previous videos, click on the playlist on screen right now, and I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.